All right, guys, before we start working on the About page, I want to create a function for our set text color, because right now if we change the primary color to, let's say, white, any light color, the text is now unreadable because we set the color of the text to white. Now what I want to do is create a function called set text color. Now it has to be a function, not a mixin, because we want to return a color from it. And if you want to return anything, it has to be a function, not a mixin. So let's create this right below the background mixin, above the media queries, and we'll say set text color. Okay, and instead of doing @mixin, we're going to do function like that, and we're going to call it set-text-color, and it's going to take in an initial color variable. So that'll be whatever the background color is, we'll pass in. And then we want to do an if statement. So we want to say if, and we're going to test the lightness. So we can say if lightness of the color we pass in is greater than 40. So if the lightness is greater than 40, then we want to return, so @return, black as our color. Okay. Then we want to do an else, so @else. Then we want to return white as our color. Okay, and we'll save that. So whatever's passed in, if the lightness is greater than 40, it'll return black. If not, it'll return white. Now to implement this, let's go to our main.scss. Let's go to the body and see where we put white for the color. Instead of putting white, we're going to use our mixin. So we're just going to say here we need to include, let's see, actually no, I'm sorry, we don't need to include. Since it's a function, we can simply say set text color. We should be able to just do set text color and then pass in the background color, which is primary color. So let's save, and there we go. So now it's black because the primary color is a light color. If I change the color to the primary color back to what it was, which is a dark color, now it's white. Now we want to do the same for the menu icon. See, if I save it, now the menu icon is not really visible. So let's go to menu.scss, go up to the button, and where did we put the color? So it's in the button line right here. Wait a minute, is that where we want to put this? Yeah, so let's do, instead of background, because we're not using color, we're using background, but we set it to white. So let's change that to set text color, and let's pass in here the background, the primary color, which is the background color technically, and save, and now that's that color. Okay, so we need to do the same for the nav links. So let's go down. Let's see, where are we going to do this? Let's see, nav link. All right, so we're going to do it here. Right now they're white, so we're going to change it to set text color, pass in primary color, save, and there we go. All right, so I think that's all the places we need to implement this for now. So I'm going to change that back to the dark color. Oops, don't want to do that. Let's change this primary back to 444. And there we go. Good. So now let's create the About page. So I'm going to go to my dist folder, and we're going to create a new file called about.html. So if I go to my navigation here and I go to About, it's going to give us this message because in the menu in the index, if we go down to our links, I have /about/work. We don't want that. We actually want to remove the slash in order for this to work, or else we'd have to do like /dist, and we don't want to do that. So let's save that and make sure we can navigate to About, and there we go. So it's completely empty, obviously. Now each page is very similar in that it has the navigation at the top, the excuse me, the overlay in the header, the title, and all that stuff. So I'm going to copy everything that's in my index HTML. I'm going to grab all of it and go to my about HTML and paste that in. Okay, and I'm just going to close this up, close some of these files up here, and let's work on this. So I'm going to change the title to just about me. And then the only thing in the menu that we need to change is the current class, because right now it's on this list item of the home item, but we want it on the about, so we're going to put that right there. Okay, and then we'll go down here. Let's change the ID of main to about, and let's change, this isn't going to be a name anymore, it's going to be about, and then me we'll put inside of the text secondary. And then for the SM heading, let's just say, let me tell you a few things. Okay, and we're not going to have the icons, so we're going to completely get rid of this div right here. All right, so now we're going to add our extra content, and if we look at the about page in the final project, we can kind of see what we're doing here. So we want, basically this is going to be the grid. This is going to be, we're going to use the grid system to align this. We have the bio image, the bio, and then we have job 1, job 2, and job 3. We also have a footer. Let me just quickly add in the footer under the main tag. We're going to say footer, and let's see. I'm actually going to give this an ID too of main footer. And we're going to say copyright. Let's say copyright. We'll put in our HTML entity for a copyright symbol, and then 2018 or whatever year you're watching this. So back up here under the H2, we're going to have a div with the class of about info. Okay, so this is going to be the class that we add the grid to. Everything in this is going to be a grid item. First thing is the image. So let's say image. I'm going to give it a class of bio-image. The source is going to be in the image folder, and then portrait.jpg. For the alt, we'll just say John Doe. So under the image, we want to have a div with the class of bio, and inside here, let's put an H3 with the class of text secondary, so that we have that yellow color. And we'll say bio like that, and then we'll have a paragraph which will have some sample text. With Emmet, you can do lorem and then the number of words you want. So I'll say 30 and then tab, and it just gives me a bunch of sample text, 30 words. So under the bio is our second grid item. The image is the first. Now we want the jobs. Okay, so each one will have a class of job. So let's say dot job, and let's say times 3, and now we have three jobs. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do one at a time. So we'll do job. This will also have a class of job-1, and then inside each job we'll have an H3. So the first one will say 123 web shop, and let's do a paragraph with lorem 20. Okay, 20 words. So that's our first job. Now we'll copy this div, and we want 2 more. So 1, 2. This one's going to be job 2. This one's going to be job 3. Let's just change up the title here. We'll call this one designers. We'll do designers ABC. Stupid names, but doesn't matter. Oh, one thing I forgot was the position. We want an H6 with the position. So here, let's say full stack developer. Here we'll say H6. Let's do front end developer. And then this last one, we'll change it to, let's do WebWorks. And then for the H6, we'll say graphic designer. And you can put years and stuff if you want. If you're going to use this as your portfolio, you might want to just kind of, make it look a little better and add some stuff. But it doesn't really, the content doesn't really matter here. So let's save this and let's take a look at our about page, which looks horrible. The background image, we don't want that here. So we want to make sure we move the ID or remove the ID of BG image from the body. There we go. Okay, so let's align all this stuff using Grid CSS. So we're going to go to main.css. Let's go all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to use grid template areas here. So basically we can map out the different areas and where we want them displayed. So first off, let's take the about-info and let's display that as a grid. And then we want to add our grid template areas. And this is like a visual representation of what you want to display. So I'm going to go on the next line here, put in some quotes, and I'm going to say bio image, bio. That's going to be the first row. Second row is going to be job 1, job 2, job 3. Now, if we look at the final project here, you can see how this is mapped to this. So bio image right here, and then bio we want to stretch across 2, okay, across 2 fractionals. This is going to be a 3 fractional grid. And then down here, each fractional has job 1, job 2, and job 3. So you have a visual representation of it. So next thing we need to do is define the grid template columns. And we want basically 3 FRs. So we could do 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, like that. Or we can use repeat. So make it a little shorter. We can say we want to repeat 3 times 1 FR, like that. Okay, now if we go back to our site here and we save, it's going to look like this. And notice that the bio isn't stretching across. This job is up here. It's because we haven't defined these grid areas yet. So we're going to do that in a minute. But let's add some spacing. So what I'm going to do is say grid gap and set 30 pixels and save. And now we have some spacing. And our next task is to create the grid areas. So first one is the bio image. So it has a class of bio image. And we want to say grid area is going to be bio image, like that. It should be whatever we put it as right here. Okay, and then we have the bio, so class of bio, and we want to give that the grid area of bio. And then we have job-1 is our class, and we want to set the grid area of job 1. And I'm just going to copy this because we have job 2 and job 3. Okay, so 2, job 2, and 3. Okay, now there's some other styles I want to add, like for the image. It should have a semicolon. So I also want to margin auto. Let's see, we want to margin auto. I want to set the border radius because I want it to be rounded, so I'm going to do 50%. And I also want a border around the image, which will be the secondary color. It's going to be 3 pixels and solid. All right, and then for the bio, I also want to just up the font size. So I'm going to say font size. I'm going to set it to 1.5 rems and save. And there we go. So now we have it aligned properly. Let's see. Yeah, so I think that looks good. Let's make this a little bigger, see if that looks right. Yeah, so that should look right. Now the jobs, I want these to have like a little background, as you can see right here, and a little border at the bottom. So each of them have a class of job, so we want to style that. So we'll say job, and let's say background, and I'm going to set the background to just lighten, which will take in the primary color, and then the amount I want to lighten is 5. So if I save that, it'll look like that. We want to add some padding so it's not up against the edge. We'll say 0.5 rems, and then let's add a border bottom of the secondary color. Let's say 5 pixels and solid, and there we go. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's see, what am I missing? I think that's good. Now for the footer looks like crap, so let's do that. Oh, and one thing that I didn't do is I didn't nest all this stuff in the about info. You don't have to, but I like to use the nesting, so I'm just going to grab all of this and put it inside of the about info. You don't have to though. It's however you want to structure it is fine. So for the footer, let's see. Let's go down here and let's say we gave it an ID of main footer. And let's do text align to the center. And let's add a padding of 1 rem. Let's make the background dark. So I'm going to use darken, and I'm going to pass in the primary color, and I'm going to darken it by 10. Okay, make it a little darker. And then color, we want to use our set text color function. Okay, and we want to pass in the primary color as the background. So it'll be based on that. And then the height, I'm going to set to 60 pixels. All right, so let's save that and take a look at it. So that looks pretty good. Now the issue is if our content didn't go down all the way, like if it ended here, this footer would be up here. And I can actually give you an example of that. So if we go to about and we get rid of, let's get rid of these jobs right here and save, and look at the footer now. So we want it to stick to the bottom. We want to create a sticky footer. So I'm just going to put that back. And to create a sticky footer, it's not very difficult. We can actually use the calc function in CSS, and we want to use that on the main. Okay, so we want to use that on the basically the element above it, which is the main. Right now, if we go to our main CSS and we go to the main class, we have a height of 100%. And that basically what that's going to do is it's going to be 100% of the content that's inside of it. So if the content ends here, that's where it ends and the footer moves up. So instead of using 100%, I'm going to comment this out and I'm going to say min height, and I'm going to set it to calc. So we want to calculate here 100 viewport heights. Okay, so we want to take 100 viewport heights minus the height of the footer, so 60 pixels. And let's save that. All right, now if we go to our about and we remove the jobs like we just did, the footer should stay at the bottom, hopefully. So let's see. Let's get rid of these and save, and there we go. So now we have a sticky footer. And before calc was available, it was kind of difficult to get a sticky footer to stay in place, but that's all you have to do. The element before it, you just want to calculate the viewport heights minus the height of the footer. Okay, so back to our about page. Now, if we make this smaller, it looks horrible, okay? And what we need to do is add to our mobile file, mobile.scss, and we need to basically change the orientation for medium screens and down. And what I mean by orientation is, where is it? This right here, the grid template areas. Instead of like lining them like this, we want them all stacked on each other. Now, one thing that I just realized that I did wrong is the mobile. If we look at our main Sass file, mobile, we actually want to include this at the very bottom. We want our media queries at the bottom because we want them to run after the initial CSS. So we want to take that and just move it to the bottom like that. Okay, and then let's go to mobile SCSS. Let's make sure we're within the medium media query. And this is where the brackets extension that I have is very useful. So we can tell that the yellow one is where it ends. So we'll go right in here and let's say about info. And let's see. So we basically, it's already displayed as a grid. All that stuff is, we already did that. We just want to change a couple things. We want to change the grid template areas. Okay, we want to change that. Let's go on, let's go on the next line, put in some quotes. We want the bio image, and we want everything stacked on top of each other. Then the bio, then job 1, job 2, and job 3. Okay, now as we have it set, we have the template column set to 3 FRs, 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR. Now, since they're stacked, we just want one single fractional. So we want to change, let's put a semicolon here, and let's change the grid template areas, not areas, columns. We want to change that to just one single fractional. Okay, let's save, and there we go. So now everything is stacked. Okay, so again, visually, this is exactly what we're looking at here. Everything is on top of each other. So grid template areas is very, very powerful because you can basically just map out what you want, where you want, and you can get much more advanced than this as well. But that's pretty much the gist of it. All right, so once we hit a certain point, we go back to our other layout. Awesome. So I think that's it for the About page. So in the next video, we're going to start on the, what do we have next? The My Work page, which will also be using the grid, except we're not going to be using grid template areas. We're just going to use grid template columns. So I'll show you how to use the grid without using this. I want to kind of just show you different ways of doing things on different pages. We'll also use a little bit of Flexbox on the contact page. All right, so that's it. I will see you in the next video. And actually, before we go, let's go ahead and just commit real quick. Again, you guys don't have to do this. Let's say git add all, git commit. And what do we do here? So I can't even remember. We just did the About page. We did the set text color. So let's say text color function and About page. All right. Okay, guys, so that's it. I'll see you in the next video.